But first up, oh, wow, he wrote the book that President Trump didn't want you to buy, so you did. The author of Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House, Michael Wolff. Michael, how you doing? Great to see you. Wow, look at that. Well, you have done the impossible. You have made America read again.
You know, if it's a book that brings down this presidency, I'm going to bow to the god of irony.
Well, but with all due respect, it's a great, fun book to read, but it's not bringing him down. His popularity has not gone down one bit. His base wouldn't read it. The people who read it already hate him, but it's fun. And it's informative. You just can't move these people. That's the thing. And I know you've been out talking about it all. I want you to tell me something that the other people have not noticed in this book. Is there something that you think, boy, why don't they ask me about this that I put in there that they're not talking about?
There is, but I can't tell you what it is. So
well,
there
fuck
is
you,
something...
Mike. Teasing us like that.
There is something in the book that I was absolutely sure of, but it was so incendiary that I just didn't have the ultimate proof.
God, considering what he's done, what is it, a woman thing?
Well, I didn't have the blue dress.
No, is it about a woman?
It is.
Oh, it is?
It is.
Oh, it's somebody he's fucking now.
It is.
Oh.
And it's...
Who is he
You
fucking?
just have to read between the
please.
lines.
What lines? Tell us the lines. You say it's in the book.
It's toward the end of the book.
Okay, well, it's in the book, then we go...
Yeah, you just have to... You'll know it.
I'll know it.
Now that I've told you, when you hit that paragraph, you're going to say,
right.
Bingo.
Okay. I'm not going to make the joke I was going to make. Okay, so listen, the womanizing thing, though, you do have a lot about it in the book. I mean, that I found fascinating, that you were basically saying that this is sort of the point of Trump's whole life. I love the way you say, you know, the empire, it really was a boutique industry, kind of. He really didn't do anything all day. The whole point of his existence was chasing tail 24/7.
24/7. That was it. That is the man. I am an old-fashioned playboy. That's the kind of thing that he says, and he says it proudly.
Yeah, and I always thought, I may have said it last year on the show, I thought one of the biggest adjustments for him was when he moves into the White House, he can't play you know, when it was, Melania, I'll be home at 8, and then he has hotels, you know, he goes to golf tournaments, we see he has all these places where he can get together with his mistresses. That's hard to do in the White House. That's probably why he's so pissed off all the time. Except now he's got...
Yes, I mean, there's...
He's got...
there are back doors. There are back doors and back doors.
There are back doors. Oh, it's a gay liaison.
You know, listen...
I didn't think of that. Sean Spicer.
If I can get into the White House... You know, porn stars can get into the White House.
Now, this is the other thing that's so fascinating about your book. Besides what's in the book, just the fact that you were able to hang out, like it's a dorm room, like, you know, just, this is the White House. That just blew my mind, that people weren't saying, who's this guy? Why is he here every day? He's listening to us.
Every day I waited for someone to notice me, say, please get out, but they don't. They actually do the other thing. They sort of say, oh, hey, come, let's talk.
And what do you attribute this to?
I attribute to Donald Trump. This is like...
He said, okay, he liked you because you were a New Yorker.
Well,
he sort of knew.
He gave the first approval. I said I'd like to come down and observe.
Right.
Then he thought I was asking for a job. I said, no. I said, I want to write a book. And he said, you just saw he was deflated, a book. Why would you want to do that? But then it was kind of like, okay, yeah.
And what was the title? You didn't call it Fire and Fury when you were talking to them, right? It was like the Grand Transition or something.
Yes, The Great Transition.
Of course. That's funny, you know, when Larry Charles and I were making my documentary Religulous, we didn't call it that. We called it A Spiritual Journey. And then they let us interview them in the church.
Now, I told Trump, he said, I said, I'm going to call the book The Great Transition, the First 100 Days.
Right.
He said, oh, boring title.
Right. Oh, right. So the other thing where you actually had an impact is because of the book, there was a lot of talk about maybe he's just flat out batshit nuts. People were diagnosed. I mean, there was talk about that before, but it reached a fever pitch to the point where he thought, that we had his physical last week, that he also asked to take a cognitive test and then bragged about how great he did, even though it was a test it's the kind of test they give an old lady when she's wandering down the middle of the highway in her underpants.
It's also, you can get the test on the internet, so you can get the questions beforehand.
It's 30 questions. The first 4 are, what month is it? What day is it? What year is it? What city are you in?
And who's the president of the United States?
Yeah, well, but he aced it. Okay. So, your book goes up to the point where John Kelly takes over. Okay, so that is the big watershed moment. But this week, now he's apparently feuding, as I referred to in the monologue, with John Kelly, because Kelly committed the ultimate faux pas, and he criticized Trump on TV or inferred that he was not perfect. What do you make of this? And apparently I read now that John Kelly threatens to quit all the time. That's the only way you can get Trump's attention.
Everybody tries to quit. The whole operation.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's like, how do I get out of here?
So, why does he still command so much loyalty? He's been so rotten and said rotten things to just about everybody, and all I see is month after month, Republicans not fighting him more, lining up behind him more, lying for him. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I mean, I think the loyalty thing, my book is sort of the example that these are the most disloyal, loyal people who have ever existed. But also the Republicans, there was, Mitch McConnell said, this was early on, he will sign anything we put in front of him. So he just becomes, for everyone in some way, a useful fool. Now, the problem with that is he's the useful fool, but then he goes wacko and says something which destroys everybody's plans to use him. So,
well, what are you in awe of with him? I'm not saying admire. There's nothing I admire about him, but there are things about him that I am in awe of. Like the size of his balls. Aren't you just in awe of the size of his balls? Come on, Mike.
I mean, I am in awe that there is actually someone who can go through life, reach the age of, 71
right.
now, and still act like he should get what he wants when he wants without anyone saying otherwise. Demand, demand, demand.
Because everything is so unfair. His favorite word is unfair. He's the luckiest guy in the world, and he's got this chip on his shoulder. That's what I don't understand. That his whole attitude is, when will white men born to great wealth finally catch a break in America? Anyway.
Or he is, as everyone, literally 100% of the people around him, always return to saying, well, he's like a child.
Right.
And sometimes he's he's like a 16-year-old child, or an 11-year-old, or a 2-year-old.
I notice now on Fox and Friends, they talk to him directly like they used to on Romper Room. I see Donald. It's the funnest book I've read in a long time. I just hope the world stays where it is. Thank you so much. Michael Wolff, great job. Michael Wolff, everybody. And